Good evening, Philadelphia. I'm your boy, Black E-Rock. Welcome to PHLY, the Cheap Seats. E-Rock is obviously not here. He is taking care of the family. A couple illnesses going around. You know it's that time of the year. He's out. What happens when you win games big? He was partying too hard, but we holding it down for him. Philadelphia Eagles went out to their second home, and they put their feet up. They burnt that thing down and left for the mess. But Philadelphia West is where we reside. They always do so well when they go out there to SoFi. The worst thing for California is having those two football teams where there's sunshine, beautiful ladies, and a lot of things to do. They have no real fans. But Philadelphia Eagles showed up and showed out. It's an amazing thing when you could turn on your TV on an away game and hear E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles and Fly Eagles Fly all throughout the broadcast. And they had so much stuff to cheer about. So many things are going on. Saquon was breaking records. You saw the title, We Are Saquon, bump, 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 bump. Is that how that works, guys? You guys, is that how
Is that State Farm?
We Are State Farm? Is that's how it goes?
I don't know if you were trying to do Penn State or not, but it was definitely State Farm.
Okay. It worked.
Oh,
It
my
worked.
bad. So my guy, Tyler, one of the hardest guys working at PHLY, is hanging out with us for a little bit.
What's up, guys?
He is a new father. So I figured I'd have him on here so I can teach him how to be, a multitasking dad. How you doing over there, brother?
I got like 4 hours of sleep last night, so we're thriving.
And I'm
absolutely thriving.
And I'm making you suffer here with us. So you're a Penn State guy?
I am.
Oh, okay. So I didn't do it right.
Good work.
Yeah.
Good work.
Oh, see, look at these. See, little
See?
fraternity. Look at it. Look at it. Oh.
You could use the word fraternity. I would use the word cult.
Okay.
Sure. Why not? Everybody else does.
And I was trying to be nice about it. So, not that you've not said it 92 times, but how excited for you for Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, it's very rare you get an opportunity to root for a guy who not only did you go to the same school as, but attended the school at the same time as. So like there's that extra connection. To have such a like peaks and valleys of like the chasm of difference between I love this guy. Oh, he's a Giant. I don't anymore. Oh, wait. Then they just signed him to an actually super team-friendly deal for a superstar running back. And you get the opportunity to watch this guy's career kind of reemerge. And maybe not reemerge is the right word to use because he's been outstanding for most of his career, but he's remained healthy. He's a bell cow back once again. And the electricity is back. And you could tell, guys, just by the fact that he's playing rejuvenated, exciting football, and he seems to be enjoying what he's doing right now.
It's funny you said rejuvenated because it's when I watched him I'm Penn State as well, right? When I watched him in college, it was real easy to see very quickly. Like, this dude's different. This guy's NFL ready. He is a different back, and you knew that. And like you, it was that the dichotomy between, all right, I'm a massive Saquon Barkley fan. Go anywhere but New York, please. It's just kind of like Micah Parsons, right? Like, can you go anywhere but Dallas, please? But when they had the opportunity to sign him and you see him rejuvenated, as you say, it kind of reminds me back to say, when I watch him, I say, see, that dude's different. You get to see that again. Now, obviously, he's running behind a fantastic offensive line, but that's what it looks like when you have a special running back running behind a special offensive line. For me, it's every time I watch Saquon Barkley in this offense, I have to kind of pinch myself because I feel like it's Madden.
Sure.
I feel like I've created a Madden team where I finally get to have Saquon Barkley on my squad, and this is what it looks like in reality. It's just, for me, coming from a complete place of bias, it's extremely fun. Extremely fun.
You guys have extreme bias.
No.
I am not a college person. I just got back into watching college, so I'm trying to find a school trying to find somebody to root for, trying to find a home.
I mean, we can open up our arms.
I mean,
you're welcome. Would you like to come in?
I mean, y'all are losing big games lately. I don't know if it's the time to do, you know what I mean? My options are open. This is the same kind of L.
Right.
But they are close, and I do like to stay close to home for my fandom. But I'm the type of person that when I was younger, I used to watch all the sports. Then I realized, like, oh, wait, you're not paying these kids, and you're cutting them, and they got to go find another school, and it's okay with you. Their scholarship doesn't matter. I'm out. And so for a decade, I just didn't watch college sports. And now that they can make their money and everybody's crying and complaining about it, I'm back in, baby. They got me. So I'm watching all kinds of college, everything. I used to only watch the playoffs or championship games, March Madness, so I could at least know who's getting drafted, whose eye tests popping out to me. But it's funny because I didn't have the experience of going to school at the same time or seeing Saquon. So seeing college clips of him, like all these things are coming out, I'm like, yo, he was the man at birth, apparently. Yep. So for me, it's like an even more new experience because as a Giant, I just was like, I can't even like this guy, even though he's great because he's a Giant. Now I'm like looking for old clips, looking for high school, looking for college. It's like, oh, he did this and kind of did that. So for me, I got a whole extra perspective of happiness now that I can look at it differently.
So I'm not going to inundate you with like Penn State talk because it's not a Penn State show, but
it can be.
But I think you're going to know the game that I'm referring to. That was to me the moment where I went, "Yep, that dude's the truth. He's everything you've expected him to be and more."
I have one in my head.
The Iowa game.
Oh, I wasn't going to say the
Iowa game at night at Iowa was the night where I went, that guy is not only a future NFL running back, he is a future star NFL running back, to the point where I was convinced the year that the Browns had the number 1 overall pick, because they had picks 1 and 4, they should take Saquon Barkley number 1 overall because of the fact that they had the 4th pick, because there was a lot of good quarterbacks, at least good college quarterbacks coming out of that draft. They end up, settling with Baker Mayfield, but there was a bunch of quarterbacks. There was one Saquon. And that was my justification of, you have pick 1 and 4. You can still get your pick of most of the quarterbacks still available. You should select Saquon Barkley number 1 overall.
And if you remember that draft class, it was still debated as to whether or not the Giants should go running back, because we were in the middle of that, which we still traditionally are. Like back when I was a kid, right? That's how you know my age. I mean, running backs were going 1, 2, 3. It was running back driven league. It was a run oriented league. But now that it's so pass happy, everybody's taking a quarterback. Sure. Like if you have a need, that's who you're getting. So even back then, there was a lot of question marks around, I mean, would the Giants really spend the 2nd overall pick on a running back? And sure enough, they did, because he was just that different. He's just that special. I mean, hell, the Eagles caught flack this year for giving that type of money to a playmaker, to a running back. And now I don't know how anybody, I made a joke earlier, like, kiss my ass. If you had a problem with that contract, kiss my ass. Because you can just see how different he is in that offense. You can see the difference this team is because of having a guy like Saquon Barkley in your backfield. He's just a difference maker, a playmaker.
They also were trying to get McCaffrey in that McCaffrey Bowl.
Correct.
Like people forget, like they were. So when you talk about the running back resurgence, and McCaffrey's the one that actually led that. Like I know everybody's like, oh, Saquon's making it okay to pay. No, McCaffrey made it so, like, look, I'm ready to give up the world for someone special. When you can get a McCaffrey, a Saquon, a Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry was a bargain. Like Saquon's a steal on contract because of Howie Roseman, because he handles money well. But Henry you could have got him for free, and he's out there tanking. So when you get certain people, it's still worth it. The Bijan or bust. Everybody around there want a Bijan. He's special. He went in the top pick. But everybody else, like you said, you can plug and play, and they can do well behind your line. But when you can get a Saquon Barkley, I told people over and over again, this is me not knowing that much. I'm like, the Giants' turf, everyone gets injured there. It's not just Saquon. Their field is terrible. Players come there and get injured. Aaron Rodgers walked out there, didn't do anything. 4 plays in, boom. Like, it happened. So he's injury prone. Well, look, he has to play half his season every year. He's going to come here to a field that is player friendly. Knock on wood, we don't see that many major injuries on our field like that, home or away. So it's just different here. And the offensive line is protecting him. He has 1,300 yards, whatever I'm rounding up, or down. He has almost 1,400 yards. I should round up easier. And 670 of those yards are before contact. So, he's going to get injured. What? He's ran 600 yards before somebody even touches him. And not for nothing, I can just estimate another 200 yards where he's stiff-arming somebody. That's the reason somebody touched him then. So he's getting another 200 yards off the stiff arm. So it is so amicable that he can come here and not be injured? Because everybody's like, he's not going to last 5 games. You're giving him too many carries. The way he's being protected and used in a very running back friendly way here in Philadelphia.
I lived, and I still do live in the world of like running back shelf life. It is the shortest trajectory, one of the shortest trajectories amongst position players in the NFL, in a league where the average player plays 2.5 seasons to begin with. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about a high usage, unfortunate and unfair or unfair, like plug and play is kind of how running backs get operated a ton of times. I've always lived in that because if you look at like the last 15 Super Bowl winners, their leading rushers, it was LeGarrette Blount a couple of times. Percy Harvin led the Seahawks in rushing attempts or rushing yards the year they won the Super Bowl. He's a wide receiver. Like, you can get away with a committee or a couple of rookies or whatnot. You spend the money when you're a situation like the Eagles are in. You spend the money when you're a situation like the Baltimore Ravens are in. When you get a guy of that like preeminent star type running back, and you're ready to be knocking on the doorstep of what should be Super Bowl contention, right? Like, it wouldn't make any sense for New England to go out and sign Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry. It wouldn't make any sense for Vegas to go out and sign those two guys. But the Eagles and the Baltimore Ravens have Super Bowl aspirations, and they're two teams this year, the Eagles, and in history over, especially with Greg Roman with Baltimore, two teams that are very run-heavy football teams.
Yeah.
You go out and acquire the superstar-esque running back to complete the mold that you've already put in place. That, I think, is the justification of spending the money on the running back position.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not one that, just the way the game is played today, I'm not one that's going to invest highly in a running back position. Unless, you pointed out a couple names, they're special. And then even when they're special, it has to line up with where that team is. It's a perfect marriage.
Yep.
Right? Because you've got the weapons on offense. You have the offensive line. He can be that true difference maker. They're in a position where it's win now. You can go out and spend the money. And he did it in a way that's cap friendly for the team. Mm-hmm. It's still a team friendly contract when it boils down. The question that I have, because we're talking about it, saying, okay, well, he's got 600 yards before contact. They're leveraging him or protecting him in various ways. Do we ever get concerned about, or at what point, I'll say, do we get concerned about his overall usage? Because he is toting the rock quite a bit. I know we have aspirations for not only 2024, but beyond. So at what point, because right now I don't care. Right now, in this seat, I don't care. You want a Super Bowl. Give him the ball. And Sirianni said it earlier. Every game is a must-win game. So we got to do what we got to do to win that game. They're not worried about count. But at what point do we start to pay attention to it? Do we start to get a little concerned?
I'm not. And the reason that I'm not is because I don't think I can live in that headspace, which, fair or unfair to your question, I think that this is your formula that you found for success, right? A defense that's much better than we expected it to be. A run game that has been sustainably awesome. A quarterback who has played mistake-free football for most of the season at this point, right? People were B and C about him holding onto the ball too long and processing or whatever. He had, a 6-game stretch without an interception. I think a 5-game stretch without a turnover. He's been much more good than he's been bad all season long. And their formula to success is protect the rock, play good defense, run the football. And when you have that sustainable, what feels to be a sustainable model, I don't know if I can live in that headspace until I guess I get proven otherwise. And maybe, you can, like Nelson from The Simpsons, point the finger and laugh at me when if the other shoe drops. But I am living with the mindset of, you're going to continue to rock with this setup of good quarterback play, excellent running game, and a defense that's been really, really good.
I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of Brandon Graham, but on any given play, you get injured.
Sure.
So you can go out there 3 plays in and get hurt. I brought up Aaron Rodgers earlier. So you can't live in that mindset. Secondly, he just broke the Eagles record. In my mind, he should break Eric Dickerson's record, and they should go for that. That is something that should be achieved by this team because the Vikings are 9-2. You can't mess around. The Lions are 10-1. You can't mess around. You are in a fight for your life. Like this, we're going to talk about the Ravens later, and you got to go to Steelers or AFC teams. So the meaning is different. But then you've got to go back up against your divisional rivals who are somewhat trash, rack up the yards, but you need to guarantee these victories. You can't play around and have one of these bad divisional games against one of these guys. So as far as I'm concerned, when you watch the game and you want to complain about Saquon, I don't know if you noticed it, but he taps out quite often. When he goes 3 and 4, or he has a big run, he doesn't mind going out the 1 yard line. I know all of you guys cry and complain about it. He loves the tush push. Let's bang on his buck. He loves when Gainwell gets in there and busts off 2 14-yard runs in a row, and then he gets to come in and cap it off with a touchdown. He loves when Gainwell runs in for a touchdown. So he knows inside the game when he needs to get a breather. He has no issue saying, let the young kids eat. He has no issue saying, hey, let me out. So he's already mining himself and make sure he's okay. So let him go out there and run. We need these wins. These George W's matter. So every game counts.
It's fascinating to me how this is going to play out because on one hand, right, go ahead, dude. You're on pace currently to break a national football record, Eric Dickerson's record, like a greats record. You're on pace to do that. If nothing more, you're on pace to get 2,000 yards, which only so many guys in the NFL can say they've done that. And it all lines up for them outside of Baltimore, outside of Pittsburgh, which actually stopped the run pretty well. You're playing your division, which is the Giants and Washington and Dallas. And then you've got Carolina. Bottom feeders in terms of yards allowed per game. Like, that's the worst of the worst that it gets. So it all lines up for him. But I'm torn because, yes, I want you to go get it. But I need you in the playoffs. Like, I need you healthy. I need you strong. I need you, if I can rest you as much as possible going into the postseason, if our ultimate goal is a Super Bowl. So it's that fine balance of got to get the win, no doubt. It's there for the taking if you want to have it. Got to keep you healthy. And that, for me, I mean, that's why the coaches get paid the big bucks. They got to figure it out.
And BG, you brought up, him checking himself out of the game and his, he is an excellent football player. There's no question about it. He's an excellent person and an excellent teammate. And I think that you've seen the clips now, right? Hey, you're the best player in the league. No. We did it. What was it a couple of weeks ago? You want to get the record? Nah, let the other guys eat. That's the type of guy who wants to win. And he knows what it's like to lose in the NFL because he's lost a lot with the New York Giants. He also was operating with a front office and an ownership group that clearly can't get out of their own way. And you saw it on Hard Knocks a lot. This is a guy, I think, and that's why I use the word rejuvenated. I think he has a rejuvenated sense of wanting to play football. And I use the word excellent a lot in this piece here. The most excellent way for him to cap off that rejuvenated feel of football is to win playoff games and to win football games. So I don't think of course he's thinking about it. We're all thinking about it. But like, if it's 2,000 yards or the locking up the 2 seed, if it's an MVP nomination or an extra home playoff game, he's choosing the latter every single time.
So, 2 things. I know if you're watching the show, you're thinking to yourself, is this a Saquon Barkley podcast, a Penn State podcast? I mean, it might be today because when you do what Saquon did, this is what happens. So I'm not a stat person, but one of my buddies at iKimsey Sports sent me a whole list of things. 302 yards is more than 7 teams averaged this past weekend. 9th player to average 9 yards per carry with at least 25 carries. 4 games with 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. No Eagle has ever done that for 3 times in their career. First half, 472 yards. Second half, 920 yards. So he's getting stronger as the game goes on, which is a Derrick Henry note that everybody always loves to bring up. Only 2 running backs have 5 50-yard runs in the last 10 years. Barkley in 2018, Barkley in 2024. So the whole he's getting older and he's slower and he's broken down and he's not going to be any good. Well, he's still doing the only things that he was doing back then at a young age. 150 yards over expectation every game. 213 yards before contact. Barkley is averaging 12.7 yards per carry versus 8 man in the box. That's impressive. That is insane. And so, Tyler, before we get to the break and I kick you out of here to go be with your family, we do something on this show. It is called the Player of the Week. And the way this works is we go in separate order every week.
Okay.
And then someone gets to, we don't discuss it before the show. Person gets to pick their player of the week. And if I picked a player that you wanted, you're screwed. You have to pivot. So we're just going to say, since E-Rock isn't here, he was going to take Saquon because he was going first today.
Okay.
So I just gave off all those stats. That's his woo player of the week. I'm pretty sure E would approve of that. So then it goes to me. And I'm wearing the shirt of my player of the week. This is a 1 of 2 shirt. Only me and Brandon Graham have this shirt. And see the benefits of going first to second. I get to say that it don't matter. They don't know Jalen like I do. Brandon Graham, I got all his stats on the back. You know what I mean? Michigan guy. Does Michigan like Penn State? Are they friends?
No.
I mean,
I'm so annoyed.
Listen, they hate Ohio State more.
Oh, okay.
Penn State is a little brother to both of those teams.
Yes, they are.
But,
That's very true.
Ohio State and Michigan hate each other.
Well, today,
more than they hate Penn State.
Today in BG solidarity, I'm a Wolverine. Then, so he was on the radio today, and he broke down a little bit, got a little teary, and I appreciate the fact that he said, I needed to get this out. He is the consummate Eagle. He is the consummate human being. He is one of the most gracious people that you could meet as a player, as an athlete. I've met him many a times on little situations, and grateful enough that he even knows that people call me Black Gritty. He called me BG one time, and I felt so sick to my stomach. I said every time I said out loud, I'm like, don't you ever call me that, because you're BG. And this man has given everything to the team and to the city. When he first got drafted, he had to go through Negadelphia, through the gauntlet. You know what I mean? He was in that, what's that thing when you, Oklahoma drill. Mm-hmm. He had to go through the Oklahoma drill of Philadelphia, and he was blocking people and getting dunked on left and right, and he wasn't worthy. He had a bad pick, and he fought through all that to achieve everything that he has. And I'm not going to list it off. Like I said, I got a whole list of all his accolades on my back. But 15-year Eagle, just, the Jason Kelce on defense. If all the things that you love and know about Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham is that on the defense, and he has been for 15 years. So today when I heard him tear up and cry, it's because he cares about the team for real. He is a leader. He has value, and his value is not just the value that shows up on the field. It is something that you need in that locker room, and he'll be there every single day, whether he can play or cannot play. And he's going to be a rallying cry for a lot of people. I did see a lot of people posting like videos opposed to him. I didn't post my pictures of him because he didn't die. He's alive. He didn't go anywhere. He's coming back one more year. I know he has to. He's been flashing all over the place, playing so well. His play's been excellent too. Besides being a great person, his play, he's been flashing over and over again. So again, that's my player of the week, and I'm glad I got to go first, because Ashworth, the Penn Stater, is going to try and steal my guy.
I just thought I had it in the pocket. I should have noticed your shirt when I came in.
I'm just saying, I'm wearing it on my chest. Say it with your chest.
Damn. You want to let Tyler go?
I'm going to let Tyler go in case you want to steal something else. So it could be any player, Sixer, Flyer, anything, any player.
Just don't take mine.
I'll stick with the Eagles theme just because that's what we've talked about. So I'm sorry about that. But I will say this. I feel like you have no remorse about taking that player from Jason.
Yes.
Right? Because
that's the fun part of the show.
Because you bring up the woo moment of the week. I feel like you should have like Shawn Michaels, I'm so sorry, right before he sweet chin musics him. Yeah. You don't have that.
I mean,
you don't have that. You just ruined the man's
Can we get
day.
on that next week?
Can we get the rights? I'm out here trying to scramble to get music so we don't get off the air. And we're big time. We're on Roku, we're on Xfinity now. I gotta play the role right. You know what I'm saying? I'm skating by with that picture, bro. I had to find something public.
I don't even know Jason's player, and I feel like I already feel like this sadness in my chest. If
I'm
I
feeling
pick him.
panic. Like, hold on, I might need another one.
I am gonna go with the latest graduate from Stoutland University. A man that was told he was too slow, too fat, too out of shape to play the left tackle position, was signed kind of as an afterthought and moved into the interior and kicked into the right guard. Mekhi Becton has been an unsung hero of this offensive line, and partially a massive proponent as to why Saquon Barkley has had such rushing success. They have, as a collective unit, been an awesome run blocking team. But Mekhi Becton specifically was thrust into a position that he really didn't want to play. He wanted to be a tackle. And I think, when you get put in, I don't want to call guard a lesser position, but comparable to the importance of left and right tackle, interior, the guard is maybe a step back. He has accepted this role with a lot of grace, with a lot of dignity, and he's thrived. He is bullying guys in the run game. He's been decent in the pass game. He has been excellent in the run blocking scheme. Another graduate of Stoutland University who just continues to churn out player after player after player. Cam Jurgens playing a new position with a new guard to the right of him. It has been as seamless as you could possibly ask for. My woo player of the week is Mekhi Becton.
Woo!
I like it. I like it. I like it for multiple reasons. A, I completely agree. I love the signing because I thought he fit real well in Stoutland University. And B, because it doesn't take my guy.
All right, I'm glad.
All right.
There's like a weight off my chest now.
Can I say this beforehand? So
No, you can now go try and steal my player.
Tyler, I'm not gonna steal your player, but Tyler. Normally, it's not even my thing. I don't care about these woo things. This guy, we out here wooing. He hasn't wooed one time because I took his player. Now he's all sad.
I didn't know when you were going to woo.
You're not even wooing.
The woo civics
You can woo after me. We can woo together. I mean,
you want to woo on three? One, two, three.
Woo! See, it sounds different when I'm by myself. He just
Hold on,
sad.
guys.
All
He's
right,
sad.
Look, here's the deal. So you mentioned Brandon Graham had to go through the Oklahoma drill of Philadelphia. And we know what that's like. We know how fans can be in Philadelphia. We know how we speak with our hearts, right? You were talking about Mekhi Becton, and you talked about a guy who people thought he couldn't get it done. Yeah. And he's a bust. And they overlooked him and said all the things he couldn't do. So for my, ready for it? Woo! Player of the week. It's not even a player because it doesn't have to be a player. It could be anybody that we want it to be. And I'm going to go with a guy that had every opportunity to lose this team after the bye week. A guy that Philadelphia threw the Oklahoma drill time after time after time. A guy who shaved his head and was going through his Brittany moment. All right? Yeah, I'm doing this just to piss you off, all right? Because still continuously, I don't know what my woo player of the week, Nick Sirianni, has to do. He's among active coaches. He's got the highest winning percentage. They've ripped off 7 straight wins. You can roll your eyes.
I mean, I would imagine your woo player of the week has to play, but
no, because he said it could be a ref. Last week he said it could be a ref.
Last week he said Nick too. We just doing Nick every week.
I didn't say Nick.
No, he said Nick.
That's not my problem.
We just wooing Nick every week.
We got a board.
We got a board. We can rip. We just Nick wooing.
Look, here's why.
For doing his job.
But here's why.
Wooing, just doing his job.
Why you know what? Here's the thing, Tyler, and I'm glad.
By the way, I don't disagree with you. I think it's a good selection.
The reality of it doesn't matter who I say, because every week he's got a problem with who I say, and he likes to remind me of it.
I said 1 player a week.
I didn't say 4 people.
He said, "Oh, Tyson might have been it. The girl, the other girl, another fight. You don't follow the rules."
I said I wanted it to be Tyson, but it wasn't. It was Serrano,
and he went first. So he's just pulling names off.
Okay.
Anyway, my point is that all year we have kind of been waiting on pins and needles, and he had an opportunity to lose the team. Okay, they start ripping off some wins. We don't fully invest ourselves. We don't fully believe yet. Let me see what you do next week. Let me see what you do the week after. And then last week I said, actually 2 weeks ago, I'm starting to believe. Sunday night, I'm telling you right now, this team is built different. I believe in this team. I am fully committed that they are special. It is different. They are building something positive. And that's a credit to your coach. Yes, the players matter. Of course the players matter. But given what they've gone through this season and what we've all said to him and what he's had to endure to kind of lock out, keep that team together and keep 53 alphas moving in one direction, woo player of the week, man, Nick Sirianni. I don't care if it's back-to-back weeks. He deserves it.
Woo. I'm not a Nick guy.
I know, and that's the real reason. He's just not a Nick guy.
I'm not a Nick guy, and I'll never be a Nick guy.
I know, that's fine.
He can win a Super Bowl.
I mean, the numbers tell you they win with him, right?
And you know my favorite thing about that is? So this is my favorite thing, because this is now like the media PR thing that goes out there, right? You say that, you say, he's got the best winning percentage outside of Andy Reid in the last 3 years. And then I say, well, Jalen Hurts has better stats and more win percentage than Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have 3 Super Bowls, though, does he? And neither does Nick Sirianni. But when you talk about the quarterback, that's the first thing you say when I tell you he's got a better winning percentage, more touchdowns, more yards, but he doesn't have any Super Bowls. Nick's just out here getting secondhand credit when he's out here. I'm more excited with Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. Get them some woos. Now,
well, and I will say this. I roasted Vic Fangio after the Falcons game for mismanagement of the defense in a game that they absolutely should have won. And I know people will point fingers and say, well, if Saquon catches the ball, they win the game. They marched right down the field and won the game with seconds to spare, and it's a bad Falcons team. I know they're winning the South, but the South is dreadful. I roasted him. And since that moment, and granted, you've had a lot of step up. Nakobe Dean has been excellent. Zach Bond has been maybe their best.
Getting Maddox out.
Yeah.
Right. Coop, DeJean, Mitchell, having 2 rookies in your secondary play as well as they have. Like, things have come together for this defense. But Vic Fangio is deserving of credit for the schematic, because we've talked about it before. Well, he's a disciple of Vic Fangio. Okay, so what's the difference when Vic Fangio comes in? It's no different. It's just going to be the same stuff.
The adjustments are different.
Whatever the adjustment he makes, they work.
Yeah.
And this defense has played really, really well in the last
And he's
couple
going
weeks.
to have to do it now, too, with BG out. He's going
Sure.
to have to go to bigger fronts.
Yeah, I mean, Jalix Hunt is going to need to step up.
He's going to have to figure something out, because so much of what BG was doing was a credit to how this team was playing as well.
So again, shout out to your wife. I know she's doing all the heavy lifting.
Oh, 100%. She's been nothing short of a superhero.
So give her a hug for me. Shout out to that baby. Get a baby hug. Tell Uncle BG's coming through. I know if you're gonna Halloween candy left over, I might sit around and snack on that. You know what I mean?
You know, we had two kids the entire time come to the door.
Then you got extra candy.
So we
That's
have
cool.
so much candy.
Full size candy or half candy?
Nah, we just did the little
Okay.
stuff. We
You'll get there. You'll get
weren't sure, like we weren't even sure like if we were gonna have the kid by then or not. So he was 5 days old when Halloween rolled around. So
Normally you buy the full size.
we were
because
in
you know it's for you.
scramble mode at Halloween.
Okay,
Yeah.
so well, that's fair. All right, you get a pass.
So again, hug the family. I appreciate
Absolutely.
the invite.
Thank
Thanks
you guys for
staying
having me.
overtime with us. Appreciate
You guys are the best.
Now, do me a favor and get the hell out of here. so I
Yep,
can
you
pay
got
some
it. I'm
bills.
going home. See you, Julia. You're the best.
See you, buddy.
All right, boys.
You know
Have a
what's-
great rest of the show.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much for letting me hang.
Thanks, Tyler. I know one thing about you, Tyler. You're never ordinary. And if I had to bet on anything, I'd bet 365 on you. If I can get $5 and $150 on that Tyler Zulli, I'd do it. I'd do it immediately.
You just set money on fire.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes my parlays look like that. Looks like me setting money on fire. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet 365. 90 million users worldwide. 780,000 streaming events each year. That's a lot of events. Early payouts across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Unfortunately, they're not paying out early for the Tyler Zullis. I'm trying to work on that with those guys. They pioneered the betting game. The total bet range of the widest markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. We have 78 sports? Do I not listen to E-Rock when he says these things? Sometimes 78 sports.
When I read it today, I thought the same thing. Like, what sports?
Now I got to find out. Now I got to just look through the pile of sports. Like cricket? Are we betting on cricket? Highlight?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, that'd be
that?
crazy. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets if you just bet $5 burnable dollars. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet of $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Use that code PHLY365. Bet 365. Never ordinary.
Is there a gambling problem we need to read?
Oh, is there a gambling problem?
Yeah.
Oh,
Make sure you
we
get
have
that. Verbatim, buddy.
So
Hit it.
if we got gambling problems?
1-800-GAMBLER, right?
That it? Man.
The red one, right there.
Woo, man. They got so much stuff to bet on. I didn't scroll so deep.
I know.
Must be 21 plus, physically located in Pennsylvania. And if someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text. You can even text 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's get it done.
Okay. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're damn near 40 minutes into the show,
Well, 20 minutes. We started late.
and I haven't let old girl out yet. Oh, my God. So you know the week, right? You know what we got coming up this week. It's Thanksgiving, right? We're all going to get around. We're going to enjoy our family, sit around a table, enjoy ourselves some, a nice hot meal, watch some terrible-ass football games this year because that's what they are. And, most importantly, enjoy some cold Miller Lite. Don't mind if I do. You see, this year, I'm actually going to my sister's house for Thanksgiving. So we're going to get the spread out. The thing I love, whenever I go somewhere, I like to bring myself, I come equipped, right? I'll get myself a case or a 12-pack, depending on how long I'm going to be there. When I go to Joanna's house, that's my sister. When I go to Joanna's house, her and Craig, her husband, see, they're like me. They always got the Miller Lite stacked. So I know, hey, don't worry about it. We're good. So we sit around the table and I'll talk to her and I'll say, well, which one is it, Joanna? Great taste, less filling. See, the reality is you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite tastes great and it's less filling. That's a win-win for all of us. As they say, it tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLYBirds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly, especially this week. Miller Lite Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. You do anything fun for Thanksgiving, by the way?
I used to do the best thing in the world for Thanksgiving, but now I just hang out with my family, and that's not as fun as what I used to do.
Isn't that the best thing in the world?
No.
No?
I see my family all the time. I'm not one of those people that only sees them on the holidays. So seeing them on the holidays seems like extra work. And so since COVID hit, it's just like I have to go back to hanging out with the family. I used to go to my roommate's family for like a decade, and it was nice because there'd be 40 people that I only saw on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's dope.
Because they'd come out of state, they'd come from other states, like they'd all fly in. So it'd be people that I only got to see on Thanksgiving. And then once COVID hit, that all stopped. And now it's like, again, I get to go. It's fun to be with my family, but I see my family all the time. We always do things
gathering
together. Yeah. So it'd be different if like it was like a family where I only got to see you once. But I do miss my old
Do you
Thanksgiving.
get to see them at all? Your other buddies?
I get to see them, but I see them like individually. But it's like there's aunts and uncles that I never get to see and would only get to see on Thanksgiving. They're people that aren't in my regular world. They live 4 or 5 hours away, and I'm not just gonna. I mean, I could just pop up on people. Like I want to stop by Tyler's house. I am random like that. I just do show up at people's cribs,
Eating candy.
Hey, look! I knew. See, I could smell when there's extra stuff laying around.
Right.
He got a baby. He didn't answer the door for nobody. He didn't have no candy to give away to nobody. They were busy with that baby. So we didn't talk anything about Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and their young defensive line. They had a very good, stout defensive line that's been making waves. They were 4-1. They were healthy, which is for them, they needed that win really bad to try and keep pace, even though they're lucky the 49ers lost and all those other things. But they came into that game hungry and needing the game and wanting the game and being healthy. And then the Eagles showing up the way that they did after the first quarter. That's what I mean about when I try to give credit to Vic and things like that, because the defense got shredded. And that first quarter, you're thinking, oh my gosh, thank goodness for that turnover because they're just walking down on us. Then we only get 3 points. And then they walk back down on us again and score. And you're like, this is going to be one of those games where field goals, take the points, are not looking good for us. But the defense turned it on. They got back into it. And then the offense did what they usually do. Keep banging up against the wall. A.J. Brown, couple of slants, comebacks, extra yardage, and they were off to the races.
I was nervous. Those first two the drives, I was nervous for real because Stafford was doing whatever he wanted to do. You're right. So the turnover was big, but then, as you mentioned, they went right back down. So we've said it, though, for weeks now. Whatever the Eagles are doing adjustment-wise, it's working, right? And they've proven that, okay, it may take a drive, it may take a quarter, but they're going to figure you out, and they're going to make the adjustments. Sunday night was just another example of that. I think it's very telling, you mentioned it, that defensive line in Los Angeles is good.
And they're young,
right?
And they're fast.
They have invested so much draft capital. Yes, I know. Believe it or not, the Rams actually have had a first-round pick recently, but they hadn't for years, and they had invested in that defensive line. We went into it questioning, I know myself, because we're obviously partial to Quinyanimo Bay, I'll get it out, about whether or not is Verse the defensive player of the year. People were talking, that boy balls. Yeah. Like that dude is a beast. You saw it. You saw what he did to Mailata. Now, granted, there's some context behind that, but nonetheless, to be able to throw that man around the way he did versus a beast. So I think a lot of that got overshadowed, how good their line is, because Saquon went off for 255 yards.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, that is a really talented, really young, really athletic defensive line that for the most part, the Eagles handled. They really did. And on the flip side of the ball, they got after Stafford. BG, before he went out, was living in the backfield. Milton Williams was living in the backfield. Jalen Carter was taking on double teams, which freed up everybody else 80% of the time.
And he's getting held, which I don't understand. The refs,
they were horrible.
I hate complaining about the refs, but the refs gave them 2 touchdowns. Just stepping in and that PI on Rod, like Isaiah's like, what do I got to do, bro? Mm-hmm. Every time I come in here, like people are afraid of Quinyon. They are going after Slay on a repeat business, and then whoever his replacement is, because Slay's been getting dinged up. Shout out to him because he annoys me in his podcast and all that kind of stuff. But he heard all the chatter about him shying away from hits and the way he talked about it last year and being scared, basically, for me. Like, if you're a captain, you can't talk about, like, preserving and not going to make the tackle. So much so that now every game it seems like he gets nicked and he's out of the game because he's actually trying to tackle. So I don't know, maybe not go back and not tackle him, but at the same time, he's being attacked heavy out there. They go away from Quinyon as much as possible. He gave up one pass to Puka, and Puka was catching crazy stuff all over the place. But he gave up one pass, and then late, this is why I hate stats all the time, because PFF says that touchdown was on Quinyon. One of the other sites that ranks it out says that it was on Sidney Brown because Sidney Brown had the coverage and Quinyon was the over-the-top help, and he juked him out of his shoes. So Quinyon got there late. It's not him. So I said last week he was going to give up a touchdown, so it looks like he gave up a touchdown. But depending on where you read and what stats you want, he didn't. But either way, giving up one touchdown still isn't the end of the world for a lockdown guy. It's going to happen, and he did an amazing job just on namesake alone. They're just afraid to throw to him. So he's not even getting that many opportunities. I don't know if he's going to get an interception.
Yeah, he may not, right? I mean, that's what happens. If they're going to throw your way, you don't have an opportunity to make a play on the ball, and all right, so be it. But, I mean, I'll take that all day. If you want to stay away from me and I can cut the field in half or at least in a third, then by all means. We talked about how, and I don't really care as much about PFF. I agree with you, right? Because there's so much context that's being lost.
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to use PFF when it tells us what we want it to tell us, but you can interpret stats however you want to. But we spent time talking about the Rams' investment on the defensive side, and I was having a conversation earlier today, and just how lucky, and maybe it's luck. I don't know if it's luck, but I mean, the Eagles legitimately, in one offseason, went out and shored up the outside in Mitchell. Coop fell to him at 40, which is somebody I'm sure they would have been happy with in the 20s. And then they go out and sign almost the two most impactful free agents in Saquon Barkley and the way Zach Bond's been playing.
Yeah.
And I just sit back and I look at it and I say, like, holy hell. No wonder they're sitting here at 9-2. No wonder we're sitting there beating our chests and so positive and upbeat, and they're playing the way that they are. Just a hell of an offseason that Howie had, but it's highlighted by what he did on the defensive side and what Vic can do with those interchangeable pieces. Just how impactful they are as rookies.
Well,
Dude, the rookies.
Now it's not the point of last week, and I said I didn't care about Huff being out because he's only playing 6 to 8 snaps a game. So Brandon Graham takes up those snaps, and that's fine because he was playing well. But now he's out. So now you're going to need the production of Graham and Huff. And at this point, they're not going to do it this week or next week. But when we go up against the Panthers and the Commanders and Dallas, Howie's going to bring in somebody. But I almost feel like Vaughn should go back to playing D end and maybe start playing Trot or one of the other young guys at linebacker just to see how they are, just in case you have to have that presence, because that is a position that's normal for him. That is a position he can win at. So right now I would not change anything. I'd leave it the way it is because you're going against two formidable opponents. But as we said, like, we can't mess around and play with our food. But I would like to see that experiment of him moving back into a D-end position for a couple of games and bringing one of the young, just in case, so we can see, because right now attrition starting to set in, and we need to and Vic's going to do that anyway. I'm saying it out loud, but I'm sure he's going to come up with ways to put guys in different positions to see what's going on. But that's the first thing I thought in my mind when BG went down. I'm like, well, we're going to get some off the street, but maybe this can work for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think that. I haven't thought of that. I mean, it's a logical conclusion, right? That's what he was brought in here to do. I think Vic's going to struggle with that because it puts so much pressure on Trot. And so much of what Vic does is controlled by linebacker coverage and be able to control the underneath, control the middle of the field. And
Dean stepped up a lot.
That's
too,
what
though,
they've excelled at it. It puts a lot of pressure on Trot. But you're right, something has to be done. Someone has to step up, whether that's Jalix Hunt. Huff is going to be back from, he's going to have a short stint where he's on an IR. He'll be back. And a lot of pressure is going to be put on him to have to step up. Like, it's no longer you're a rotational guy where if we get something out of you, we get something out of you. Like, now this team needs you. They did sign today Charles Harris, who was one of the higher-rated defensive ends in the 2017 draft. But a rotational player in and of himself. He came from Carolina, I believe. They cut him, and the Eagles picked him up. He had 3 sacks on the year, but struggles against the run, something I'm pretty sure Vic isn't going to be a big fan of. So
Right now, you need bodies, though.
you need bodies, correct. You need bodies. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they elevate somebody from the practice squad just because you need bodies. We gave all this credit and this praise to Vic and how he's handled this team and this roster and this defense. And it doesn't stop now. So he's going to have to figure out what you do. I mean, you don't stop because one guy goes down. It's next man up. And no matter how important that guy is, next man up. We're going to find out who that next man is and how good he is.
So the next man up thing, right now we're fine. I don't know how much more next man up and we can do.
I hear you.
And to your point, like, the offense looks completely different. A.J. Brown had missed like 3 or 4 games, and he's still in the top 10 with only 39 receptions. Other guys have 75, 60, and they're like, oh, you don't understand how powerful he is out there on the field until you like look at the numbers. Because when you watch him play, you can see it. But the fact that he's only had 39, he's only been targeted 56 times.
Yeah, 50 sometimes.
Yeah, 56
right? Which is like
times.
half of Chase, of
Yes,
Jamar Chase.
Yes, and he's only behind him by
It's insane.
almost 200 yards, 180 yards or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. So Smitty being out does affect the team because the other guys are out there, but Jalen kind of missed the throw in the end zone. But when you're 6'7", I expect you to muscle and get that ball. He mistimed his jump, which, okay, Jalen, throw it higher because he's so tall. But at the same time, my favorite thing is you watched Monday Night last night. Herbert missed people wide open. And nobody's like, oh, he's not the guy. I can't believe he missed a wide open in the end zone. Quarterbacks miss throws all the time, and it's just how it is. But when Jalen misses a throw, it's a big deal. And to be fair, when he's only throwing the ball 20 times, you better be hitting 70%.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is the standard's the standard. Jalen says that, right? So if we're going to be overly critical, I almost take it as a compliment for Jalen Hurts because the expectation of who Jalen Hurts is and what Jalen Hurts is capable of, that if he does miss a throw, people get up in arms. And I don't care. Yeah, Justin Herbert misses throws and Stafford missed throws and Lamar Jackson misses throws. Like that's what happens in the NFL. Jalen holds himself, and I think people hold him to a standard because they expect him to connect on certain throws, especially if you're only going to throw it 20 times a game. But I'm okay with that, again, because I view it as more of a compliment of what our expectations are to you because we know you can do it. We've seen it before in big moments. He's going to have a big moment this week. Yeah. He's going to have a big moment this weekend when you're visiting Baltimore. You're going against Lamar Jackson. You're going against King Henry. You're down on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see if Smitty's back. I'm assuming he will be back because they prioritize this big matchup to get him back. But that's going to be a massive test for Jalen Hurts.
So we're going to get into the Ravens game before we get out of here. But I guess we should pay some more bills first.
I love paying bills. I already paid one bill. Let's pay another. Oh, damn, the future is bright for your Philadelphia Eagles. So sit back, relax, throw a pair of Shady Rays on because, as I've said to you week after week after week, they've got the fit you're looking for. They've got the make and model that you're looking for. If you got a big dome, a small peanut head like myself, they've got the fit for you. They've got these polarized lenses. They've got blue light lenses and some green wolves for out on the golf course, help you see the green and the fairways and the cuts of the grass, hit that nice shot. Not that any of us ever do hit a nice shot. What I always try to tell you is don't worry about it. If you don't like them, you've got 30 days to get them back. It's not going to be an issue. You're not going to return them. But if you happen to lose them or you break them, they've got the best return policy in the business. I don't know why you guys haven't believed me, but now's the time. Because this week, and this week only, right? We said this week only. Yeah. If you go on ShadyRays.com, use the code PHLY, you can get 35% off shades. Give them a shot. Over 300,000 people have already rated these 5 stars. What are you waiting for? I haven't. If we can get a cut of BG, my man's ready. He's got the Shady Rays on. Why don't you? It's about time. Got to read? Is it a HELOC for E-Rock? I know you got one. It's your turn. Take it away, BG, and them Shady Rays.
No HELOCing again. We're still doing it for the kids at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So I'm going to actually read it this time because I do have this for my child, even though she's 17 now, so she's about to have a real thing. But they have a free green light account. So if you have a kid, you can set them up with their own credit and debit card. And it goes to an account. They can learn how to save, how to spend, and they can track it. And you as a parent can have access to it. So instead of sending your kid to school with $20 cash. You can just load up the card and see if they spend it on slushies. That's the thing, too. You give kids cash, they go to school, they're buying Pokemon cards, they're out there trading for all kinds of stuff. You don't know what's going on, but you put this card in their hand and you know exactly what's going down, all right? So it's nice that they have that account for you to set up with your children. You can also set saving goals and things like that and targets for the kids to hit. If you're paying them an allowance, something like that, you can put it in there so they can watch their money grow instead of putting it in a piggy bank where you can't see what's going on. And so set that up. The Greenlight app, again, comes with your account. Everything is free. They'll walk you through it. And TrueMark Financial Credit Union is doing great things, locally run by people. And if you're in the area of Philadelphia, you should go and check them out. Go to truemark.com/greenlight for more information on that. If you got a kid, I'm just saying, teach them how to spend money. Teach them how to do their taxes. Spend some time with your kids and the financials. It matters in the world we live in. So now that the money's done.
Money's never done. Money's never done.
I guess money's never done.
Baltimore.
The Eagles are playing the Ravens. The Ravens that you brought up have not had a bye week yet. And so you asked the question of, as much as we started this show talking about Saquon, I did that to be nice to you little Penn Staters and your little We Are cult. But Saquon's got 1,392 yards. Henry has 1,325 yards. He's got 13 in one less game.
No. Yeah, Saquon has one less
game. Yes. And he has 13 TDs, does Henry, and Saquon has 10. We all know if he wasn't for the Tispeth, he'd have extra 7 touchdowns. 6 yards per carry for Henry and 6.2 for Saquon. And it's just going to be a battle of titans. There are only 2 carries between them, separating them. Again, Saquon with one less game. But Henry also got misused, not last week, but the week before, where they forgot that he was on the team and didn't give him the ball and the entire second half but 1 carry. So that was a misstep by the Ravens. And Baltimore is going to be a tough game in Baltimore. And the Ravens defense isn't what it used to be, but their offense is the best offense in the league. And that is something that normally couldn't be said through the air and on the ground. Derrick Henry has opened up the world to Lamar Jackson.
So remember a couple weeks ago, you had said when the Eagles were playing the Commanders, like they haven't faced a guy like this. I want to see what they do with Jaden Daniels and how they attack him or how do they stop him. And I sat here and I said, I'm not worried about Jaden Daniels. I'm not worried about the Commanders. They're fine. Okay, well. Now it's a real conversation. Now it's valid. Look, Jaden Daniels is Lamar Jackson light.
And he's like I said, since he got his wrist broke, they're
not
losing 4 games in a row.
Right?
He's
fine.
Yeah.
But you get the real Lamar Jackson right now. So I look at this and I flip-flop, dude. I'm going back and forth. I really am, because I just got done telling you how confident I am in the Birds and the way that they're playing, and I believe and they're special and they're different. But I think those same things about Baltimore, at least regular season Baltimore. They're a tough stop. Defensively, I think the Eagles are going to move the ball. Defensively, Baltimore does a good job up front, and they will limit what Saquon Barkley can do. So there will be times for Jalen to move the ball through the air. Do we know if Smitty's playing? Do we have clarity? Is he practicing?
It's so early and it's holiday, so the report's probably not even going to come out till Friday now because of Thanksgiving.
So obviously that's a big what if, right? If Smitty's playing, Jalen's going to have his opportunities to make plays. I'm telling you right now, even though Baltimore's one of the top rush defenses in the league, Saquon's going to eat too. He's still going to get his. But I'm not worried about necessarily those matchups. I am genuinely curious how the Eagles attack King Henry and focus on him, but then set the edge and stay fundamentally sound to account for Lamar Jackson. And when I see the combo, I don't know if I'm more feared of, how, oh my God, how can they stop him? How can they stop this combo? I don't know. Other teams in the NFL have, right? It's not like they're scoring 40 points a game. They're not. They're scoring maybe it's 30 points a game or 29 points a game. And the Eagles can compete with that. They can. So I'm a little nervous about it, but I think more of me is starting to fall back in line of, no, I'm confident with what Vic is building on defense. I'm confident with what the Eagles are doing on offense. It's going to be a juggernaut slugfest. I'm starting to lean towards liking the Eagles' chances. When coming into the day, I wasn't sure I could say that.
Who's a better coach?
Harbaugh. I'm with you. Harbaugh. And it's in Baltimore. These are the things that I'm starting to, add up what the difference makers are. What could the X factors be? Okay, it's on the road, so let's give Baltimore 2.5 right there. Let's say Harbaugh's the better coach, and that could equate to what? Maybe another 2-3 points? Just snapping your fingers. So what are we saying? That the Birds got to cover, in theory, 5-6 points?
Yes.
I think that's possible. I do. I really think it's going to come down and be a 1-point game, a 2-point game. Oh, boy. That's bold. That's bold, sir. I'm not going to let you know what's happening right now, but my man's about to make a statement. And coming into the day, I would have agreed with him. But now that he's doing what he's doing, I'm going to take a hard stance on the other side. Look at this. Ray Lewis himself. Say something, brother.
No, see, because you wore a hat, a Cowboys hat, and I tried to tell you can't be wearing Cowboys hats out here. So I figured I'd take the Ashworth way.
Yeah, but I was right.
I'd take the Ashworth way.
But I was right.
I'm about to be right.
Okay.
So Julia over there, she was so bold and confident in the Philadelphia Eagles. And we talked about it for it only took me 3 minutes to put a hole in her confidence. So let me put the hole in your confidence. When you get the Michael Vick experience for the first time, you don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. You have no idea what's going on in your life when you watch him shake you out of your boots. And it is absolutely embarrassing. Lamar Jackson is 23-1 against NFC teams. He does not lose the first time you see him there. Now, yes, they're not unbeatable. They lose all the time, right? In the AFC and divisional games, the Steelers don't lose to the Ravens lately. Tomlin can't beat the Browns, but he can shut down Lamar Jackson every single time they play. It almost seems stupid, but styles make fights. Coaching matters. And divisional rivals, and when you know each other and you see each other all the time, you know what the person's tendencies are. It's just like that little inside knowledge when a player comes from another team and you're trying to pick their brain on what somebody likes, or a coach was formerly a quarterback coach for another player. You're like, these are his tendencies. You can learn things. But when you haven't seen a dude running 300 miles an hour past you, it's the Saquon effect to people. People forgot how powerful and elusive and fast Saquon is. The speed of Saquon is shocking people because these defensive backs who are normally quick think that they can get an angle on him and he's already past you. And the next gen stats are like, yo, he's peaking out at 22 miles an hour. A.J. Brown reached 22 miles an hour this year. 10% of the league is getting up to that top speed. So when we're not used to seeing Saquon and he's running that fast and then he's got a stiff arm like Zeus from the heavens, you're like, man, I thought I got hit with a lightning bolt in my face. That is the Lamar Jackson effect on the NFC because you just don't see it. And I said Jaden Daniels, but again, since he got his ribs cracked, he was their running offense. But once he got hurt, now he can't run anymore, so we didn't get to see it. We didn't even get to play with it and toy with it and experience it. So I think the Ravens are thoroughly prepared and ready to handle the Eagles. They also need to win too. They've lost 3 or 4 games. They need to win to keep pace with the Chiefs, with the Bills, and
in their own division.
Chargers.
Their own division,
yes.
They need to keep pace.
The Steelers.
Yeah.
So I'm an Eagles fan. I can't just sit there and say, I said at the beginning of the year they're going to go 13-4 or 14-3 when I had my green goggles on. I was all hopeful. So if we lose this game, again, it's not the end of the world. The NFC game against the Rams was much more important for us than this game, but we also still need to keep pace with so I just don't see how we beat Lamar Jackson because just like I told you, we never lose in LA. We always lose in Seattle. The 12th man's real. There are certain things that are just death and taxes, and Lamar's kind of one of them. So tell me how we beat him.
You're saying everything that I felt this morning. Right. You're saying everything that I agree with you. I genuinely do. Baltimore's always been a game that I've had circled on the calendar saying, well, that's an L. Right. I feel like they match up better with Pittsburgh. But in terms of AFC opponents, Baltimore, their style of play, it's in Baltimore. I just felt like that was an L this year. I've always had that circled. Where I'm starting to change my mind a little bit is a couple things. A, the way they're playing right now. Right now, obviously losing BG changes that. Defensively, it changes that. But I look at them and I say, well, like both of these teams are going to put up points. Baltimore's defense is not the Baltimore defense that we're accustomed to. The Eagles, like if we go blow for blow with them, like okay, fine, that's a net, right? Defensively, to me, is where the difference is. And we just got done singing the praises of Vic Fangio. The Eagles have one of the best scoring defenses in the NFL. Baltimore does not by a long stretch. I think they give up like 25 points a game. So if you're telling me that I could have one of the league's best offenses in the Eagles going against one of the league's worst scoring defenses, then that just tells me, okay, fine, they're going to put up points. And then the difference is I got one of the league's best offenses in Baltimore against one of the stingiest defenses in the NFL that says, okay, fine, they're going to score points, but maybe not as many as they're accustomed to. That's the battle to me. I'm not saying that you have to hold them to 17 points. You're not going to do that. If you can hold the Ravens to 26, that's a dub. If you can hold like 26 to 28, to me, that's a dub. And I think that they can do that because I think the Eagles can put up 27. I mean, they've been averaging 30 their last handful. It's just the nuance and the difference over how teams are playing right now. Look, I'll give you an outside perspective or off the radar. They're heading into their bye week. And every team battles heading into your bye week because your mind's already on the bye week, especially when it's week 12 and you haven't had a week off yet. Everyone's, and the coach's job is, hey, whoa. It ain't a bye week yet. This is a big game. We're not going into the break yet. I don't care what plans you have. I need you focused. And it's a big game. They're going to be focused. But sometimes you lose. Maybe it's a play here, a little attention to detail there. That happens heading into a bye week. So I think those things tend to offset each other in terms of it being on the road. Like there's some things that go in favor of the Ravens in terms of coaching, but then there's some things that go in the favor of the Eagles in terms of how they've been playing. They've been dominating opponents on the road. They're not the ones facing a bye week and starting to kick their feet up. So I look at it and I say, well, if I have to choose, while I agree it's going to be a really tough matchup, I told you I believe in this team. If you think I believe in them now, come out of Baltimore with a dub and then look at me and tell me, do I believe in this team?
So the bye week doesn't matter to me just because Harbaugh's an excellent coach.
He is.
And he's been coaching there for a long time. And just like he had to go up in his brother's Super Bowl, like he has those guys mentally ready for all the things. Like, how do you feel about your coach going against his brother? All the extra hoopla on a Monday night game, which was, again, a big game that the Chargers needed. So I kind of threw it out the window. What you're saying is a real thing. But I feel like when you have a good coach, it's not something that they even think about because they know how big these games are. Secondly, everything you said is right, but then you leave out the point that we have slow starts. So, and we also start slow on defense. So if they come out there and walk down the field on us like the Rams did and they score, like on those two drives, if they didn't have, quote unquote, if they didn't have a turnover, if they would have just scored 2 touchdowns or 14 and they're up 14 and we start slow and then it takes time for our defense to catch up, you're already going to be in the hole. So something needs to shift in that. Either the defense needs to get off to a hot start or the offense needs to get off to a hot start, but we don't do that. So when you're playing the Ravens, you can't get down because they can do to us what we do to people, and they've done it to stronger opponents than we have. Their strength of schedule is vastly more superior than ours just because they're in the AFC and the run that we've been on lately. I don't like to totally discredit that, but I can acknowledge the fact that they're not as strong on defense, but they're going up against better teams. So we have to come out there and do something we traditionally don't do. We need a much faster start on offense, and we need a much faster start on defense because we can't get in a hole against a team like the Baltimore Ravens because they are equipped to do to us what we do to others, and their defense will look much better if they have any kind of lead because, again, our defense is being stingy. Derrick Henry is real. Lamar is real. I say it all the time. Quinyon's taking away half your field, right? Okay, so you got the other half to play with, and you've got to worry about Lamar, and you've got to worry about Derrick Henry. And that's a dichotomy that we haven't had to play against yet. And they've got a great tight end. I know everybody keeps telling me that Goddard's elite. Goddard has not shown me anything this season to even show me he's adequate. He's been so pedestrian in and out of the lineup. Kyle Kater's done a better job than him flashing to me. Even though Jalen doesn't hit him all the time, at least he's flashing open. So it's going to be a battle for the Eagles this weekend. And again, every week we say they've got to step up and do this, but it'll embolden us, like you just said. It'll embolden us more and more for those postseason aspirations, and it's going to be a great game.
And that's what I'm really looking forward to. It's legit. It's two Titans. right? One in the NFC, one in the AFC, and I'm not telling you they're the best of their respective conferences, but they're two titans in each conference, and it's going to be a fun game. I think the reason I have some confidence is for every reason that you say, well, the Eagles can't start slow, they can't get behind, Baltimore. Look, Baltimore can't get behind Philly either because they ain't built that way either.
Yeah.
Right. The difference that the Eagles have,
they are because he passes now. I can't say that.
Lamar
Jackson
can throw the ball.
Is way up now this
but
year.
For them to be dangerous, like if they get behind 14 early, and they've shown it. You mentioned it earlier. Okay, Derrick Henry, bye. Right now, Lamar's going to have to be Lamar and do it on his own, which he can do. We know that, but it takes part of what makes them so dynamic as an offense away. What the Eagles have, and what the Eagles have shown that Baltimore does not have, is, bro. They don't go away from the run game. And they can lock up a 70-yard TD, a 72-yard TD. Saquon Barkley can knock his head off the goalpost at any moment. So they don't have one of the most fun aspects of this Eagles offense is their big playability. And their big playability is not predicated on only throwing the football. If you can get the ball to Saquon Barkley so they can stay true to the run, and it's still a threat. It's still a home run threat. So I think that allows them to stay true to who they are, be a run-first offense, still implement that big play capability, then stretch it out and throw the football. So I say all these things just to say I have confidence in the Eagles offense. Yes, they can't get off to a slow start. Nobody wants to get off to a slow start, especially when you're playing an opponent as good as the Ravens. But they have gotten off to slow starts. They have made adjustments, and they have thrown up massive points in the past. And it just gives me confidence to say they can go toe-to-toe with that team, and I'm willing to bet that they can outlast them. I don't know why I have that quiet confidence, because everything that you're saying makes complete sense to me, and I agree with you. But over the last few weeks, they've given me just some quiet confidence that says, bro, they may not be the best team in the NFC, because I think the Lions are really freaking good, but they're right behind the Lions, and I don't know if there's a team in the AFC that this team can't beat.
So, again, I hate doing it, bro, but
I don't disagree.
The Rams
with
are
you.
5-5. The Browns are 2-9. I can go down the list of all these. The Commanders are now 7-6 or 7-5. They've lost 4 straight. I mean, all the teams, like, man, the most stout win we've got going for ourselves is the one in Brazil.
But how do they beat them? You're right, but what do they do to those teams that you're calling inferior? They beat the brakes off them. They're not outside of the Browns, right? I get it.
And the Jaguars.
Score. I agree. I'm not going to argue you. I agree.
The game is the game.
You watched the game, though, and you were frustrated with the game because you said that game was not that close. They made it that close. That game was not that close.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Bengals game, when you look at the Rams game, when you look at what they did to Washington in the second half, like these, when they look what they did against the Giants, like, yes, they're inferior opponents, but good teams will beat the brakes off inferior opponents, and that's what the Eagles have done. I agree. It's not like we're not in college football, and if we were, they wouldn't have some beautiful strength of schedule. But I think anybody watching, and I think you know it, like, you're confident in this team. You just don't like this matchup.
Yeah, I'm totally just being realistic with the situation. I'm not going to be angry if they lose. I'll be angry if they lose 40-3 or something dumb like that. Yeah. But if it's a shootout, if it's a tough battle, and they lose by 7 or 10, I'll be like, okay, it is what it is. You make adjustments. I personally feel like certain times in the season, you learn a lot more from a loss than you can from a win. And it also just makes people refocus and reset their mindset. So I just don't think that I think that's how it's going to go down. Let's get out of here. You got a score prediction?
Yeah, well, it flipped because I originally was going to say 26-20 Baltimore. And then in talking with you, I feel like part of me is taking the other side here. I'm going to go, if I had to go on record, give me a 25-23 Birds.
25-23 Birds. That seems low.
No, it is low. I think it could be one of those weird games, though.
So PHLY Cheap Seats.com. If you're staying this late, go ahead and subscribe to the pod, the YouTubes, the socials. Make yourself useful. Leave a comment on the clips that we usually try to respond to those. Make yourself useful. We're going to put a clip up for the score. Go ahead and leave a score. Our producer, Julia, she's a great individual, but today she really got on my nerves because she was so gung-ho about the Eagles.
So pro-Birds.
It was so embarrassing for her. And I don't, I am a ladies' man. I love the ladies. I don't like talking to women a certain way because then it feels like I'm talking down. Like I know she knows sports. I mean, look at where she works. Look at who she's dealing with every day. You know, so she's got exactly. So I don't want to poo-poo her opinion, but I will tell her that by the time you yell at her, she's a very busy lady. She's got things to do. That if she wanted to combat me and my auspicious take, because I am usually right. I am a man from the future. The whiteboard has me chalked up on there really big time. I would say to her, well, you keep saying that he's 23-1. Did you ask me who the one loss was to, Julia?
No.
You didn't, because I'm just trying to educate you to a debate. That's supposed to be your first question. Well, who the heck beat Lamar Jackson? And you know what I would have told you? I'd have told you Daniel Jones and the New York Football Giants beat Lamar Jackson. And do you know why he beat him? Because he had Saquon Barkley. The Birds by 10, 35-25.
We all silly like the mayor.